Grow 'em Big with Steve Bartylla. Brought to you by Huntworth and these other fine sponsors.
One of the biggest things that just drives me nuts in this niche is this BS that you have to control countless acres and have such deep pockets. I know I've mentioned this more than once, but it's because, frankly, it drives me nuts and is so incredibly untrue. Without a doubt, if I have an unlimited budget and sprawling countless acres, am I going to have good hunting? Yes, I probably am going to have very good hunting. But here is the thing. If I don't have sprawling acres and I don't have deep pockets, I'm going to actually, it turns out that it's more beneficial to me to do this than that person that has everything already. That person that has everything already, they've got deer on their ground naturally because they control so darn much property. Okay, when you have 20 acres, when you have 40 acres, when you have 80 acres, you can explode that ground so fast it's not even funny, and you don't have to have a huge tractor dragging a 20-foot disc and all this stuff to do it. It will do you so much more good than it'll do that other person with those deep pockets. So what can we do? First off, hand saws, they really don't cost that much. And a person can go ahead and cut down pretty much all the trees that we want to for habitat improvement with a hand. Are you going to be cutting down a tree like this? Heck no, you're not. And frankly, it shouldn't be for habitat improvement more often than not. You should be leaving that for a logger. I'm talking about trees like this. Okay. You can use a handsaw for something like that. And woody and leafy browse is so ridiculously underrated, it's not even funny. I don't care if we're talking Iowa, in the most rich ag region there is in this entire dang world. Those deer are still eating more leafy and woody browse than they are those crops when given the opportunity. Okay, by going out and managing the timber on that ground, we can go ahead and, in some cases, actually put money in our pockets. And in many, almost all cases, we can go ahead and jack that browse level and make it so much thicker with the snap of a fingers. And then when it comes to food plotting, believe me, I've used everything. It is really nice when you're sitting in an air-conditioned cab of a tractor pulling a 20-foot disc and watching that dirt. But you know what else you can do? You can go and get yourself a backpack sprayer, fill it full of some generic Roundup, and go out there and spray some weeds, throw some seeds on the ground, let those weeds die down, and oh, it goes ahead and blankets the seed between the dirt and the dead weed duft. Creating a seed bed right there is going to create a picture that looks like it belongs on the cover of Farm Digest Weekly. No, it will not. But we're feeding deer. We are not cash cropping here, people. Does your food plot have to look nice and clean? It sure is nice when you can bring in big equipment and pluck those trees out and throw them all over the place and dig yourself a pond and all. That is awesome. But you know what? That handsaw, you go out there and you cut a few trees, move them off to the side, bring in some sunlight, little rake. Next thing you know, you got a food plot. If you really want to go nuts, you can go get yourself a garden tiller. But I'm going to warn you right now, when you put in a food plot with a garden tiller and you're laying in bed, expect to feel your arms shaking like a son of a gun the whole time you're laying there because you've been going like this for so long. There are countless ways to skin these cats. You do not have to go out and spend, you don't have to spend $100. Most of this stuff you don't have to spend $10. I can go out in the woods and I can bend all sorts of branches down to nose level, can't I? Now, in places where deer naturally want to rub and scrape, I can make sure that there's plenty of poles out there for them to rub on. I've got all these licking branches now sitting there right in these whitetails' noses. Every single time that buck works a scrape on our land, that's seconds he's wasting, and guess what? Hunting is a game of minutes, isn't it? So if I can get him to waste 5 minutes on my ground before he jumps the fence, That can make all the difference in the world. You really don't need these deep pockets and sprawling acres to make a difference. You can make it on a limited budget and small acres, and they're going to be so much more beneficial in those scenarios.
Final thoughts, brought to you by Huntworth.
We go on and on and on and on about how you have to have this product and you have to have that product and you have to have 10,000 acres of ground, and even then you cannot manage free-range deer on. Baloney. The little guys out there, the people in the real world, they need this stuff so much more than the person who lives in fantasy land. Go ahead, figure out what you can do, be creative. There's all sorts of stuff you can do that costs you virtually no money at all or nothing, and it all can make a difference.